Still. Stay still. Then, slowly, the gravelly footsteps resumed. 5995 closed his eyes, felt a prickling of sweat on his scalp. The footsteps were getting closer. The thunder was not turning away from 5995, as predicted by months of routine, and all the intelligence a practiced operative like 5995 could gather. The thunder was confounding reason, and walking directly towards 5995 and his grossly inadequate cover. Screw his mother. Had 5995 in his reconnoitering missed a security camera? Or had the treacherous, conniving bitches with whom he had shared 2 decades of his life in this labour reform facility turned him in already? The footsteps came closer. Boot on concrete. Grit. Particulate. Fear stopped his breath, shredded his thoughts. He forced himself against the wall, crushed an overwhelming desire to bolt, to run, to move. The thunder stepped off the path, out of the light, his back to 5995. From where he stood, an arc of scarlet light, then a scatter of sparks. His cigarette. The thunder seemed to be reaching for something in his clothing. Silence, then a liquid hiss and spatter, a whiff of ammonia and alcohol. The man is pissing, thought 5995. He is pissing against the wall. The spatter turned sporadic and stopped. The thunder arranged himself and coughed, a shocking bark in the darkness. 5995 imagined himself encased in clay, eternally silent and still, like some tomb warrior, buried, invisible since the days of Qin. The thunder was yawning, feeling in his pocket. He pulled out a packet of cigarettes. 5995 heard its cellophane rustle. The thunder shook the packet, held it up to the arc light, made a pincer with his forefinger and thumb, and drew from it a bent cigarette. He placed the cigarette between his lips. Now the lighter, its raspy snick. 5995 blinked at the flame and saw the thunder tilt his head back, inhale noisily. The thunder crumpled the empty packet in his hand, turned, raised his arm, and hurled it into the shadows. It hit 5995 on the chin, causing him to jerk reflexively as if he had been struck. The packet fell to the ground, and the thunder turned quickly and peered into the darkness. He cannot see me, thought 5995. He has no night vision. The thunder tilted his head, looked again. Very, very still now. The walkie-talkie crackled. The thunder looked down, pressed the talk key, and in a desultory movement brought the walkie-talkie to his mouth, mumbled, and let it fall. He sighed and turned away. His footsteps receded into the night. 1:42 a.m., 18 minutes until the next patrol. Move. Delicately, and with a degree of light-footedness and quiet surprising in such a big man, prisoner 5995 ran through the savage arc light, across the path, to the windowless 2-story boiler house opposite. A grey door, which, thought 5995 as he ran, must be unlocked if I am to live. He slowed, reached for the handle. The door gave. His momentum carried him through, and he was inside. A dim, cool interior, damp concrete under his feet, a sulphurous smell. He closed the door behind him gently, breathing heavily, allowed his eyes to readjust. Before him, he made out a pile of coal. Beyond it, a doorway, through which came the hissing and ticking of the boiler. The boiler room was festooned with pipework, lit by a single bulb, water pooling on the floor. He stopped in the doorway, listened. Nothing. He passed the boiler soundlessly and pushed to one side a dense plastic curtain. A dingy corridor in darkness. At its end, double doors. Move. He inched the doors open, peered into a shadowy office space of 6 or 7 desks, dull filing cabinets, a smell of old cardboard, cigarettes. He stood, collecting himself. He thought, dear God, this might work. This might... A hand on his shoulder. Adrenaline like lightning in his muscles. Anger and shock flickering in the brain. 5995 turned fast, reaching for anything, cloth, flesh, hair. He forced his weight forward, a shout strangled.